That was Trashed and TRXSSHED and Lomtree, LOMTRE, their song Sign, SINE. Are we remembering to feel the front of our shins? Good morning, everyone. How are you? How are you doing out there? Whether you are watching here live with us here on YouTube, or whether you're out there in a VOD watching us in the future, you time traveler, you amazing window to this godlike experience that you are. How are you this morning? Are we remembering to feel the front of our shins this morning? What is it like over there as we stretch our self-awareness together every weekday morning like a muscle? What is it like around you right now? Are you with the friends? Are you at the beach right now? How are you? It is November 1st, 5:36 a.m. It is Monday, November 1st, 2021, 5:36 a.m., which means it is another Mover Monday. I want to invite you to always, in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. We on Padawan invite you to hold your controller properly alongside with us for the next hour by pretending that there is a candle in front of everyone's lips that they're just trying to not put out, like a birthday candle. We invite you to simply put this into your awareness. Sometimes we get more results by doing less work, by simply placing into our awareness the idea of a candle in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out. How might that feel? How might we notice a relationship within our own bodies shift slightly as we pretend that there is a candle in front of our lips that we are trying to not put out? We're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling as we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. That's another death. But every breath is a new life as well. And how does that feel if we are holding our controller properly when we were reborn with a new life? By pretending that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. It's just flickering there. And we're not thinking about inhaling. We're not thinking about exhaling necessarily. Just trying to not put this candle out, like a birthday candle, in front of our lips. And as we are holding that into our awareness, I challenge you to remind yourself that the tip of your tongue, that is the part of the tongue closest to your mouth, the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And how does it feel to have confirmation of that today? In the infinite degrees in which your tongue could be changed and manipulated within your mouth, how does it feel to know that its nature wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth when at rest? Or during any activity, how does that feel? As we are recalibrating our controller or holding our controller properly today. It is a Mover Monday today, which means we shall be introducing, of course, reintroducing if you are already familiar, and focusing on a specific concept of your body map, the relationship between you and you on Mover Monday, as we reacquaint ourselves with a new concept to feel so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Today's topic, a rubber band between the third eye and the Adam's apple. How does it feel for you, all of you shin feelers out there, all you Palgo honors out there? Good morning to anybody out there coming from Instagram, Twitch, D-Live, or word of mouth. Colleagues, good morning, Felipe. Thank you for joining us today. Beginning, middle, and end, we will be addressing any comments, likes. I don't know if we're going to just likes. Yeah, why not? Donations, comments, or chats, or anything like that. Beginning, middle, and end of the show. Are we ready for an hour of this? For some new body magic tricks as we introduce the rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. How does it feel for you, my fellow dudes and dudettes in this morning, if we are perceiving a rubber band that stretches and constricts ever so gently between the third eye, right behind the third eye, about an inch behind your what you would consider to be your third eye, or what we would see in art or whatever? I wonder why they draw art that way. Possibly because some of the muscles that we need to be touching that feel so good happen to be between right behind the third eye, and then with the intention of attaching down to what you would consider to be your Adam's apple. By placing your awareness onto there, the same way you'd place your awareness onto your shoulder if you'd want to lift your shoulder, we might find ourselves opening up some new channels to feel so good from the inside out. How do we feel so good from the inside out? Better than your morning would feel without? Well, today on Mover Monday, let's perceive that there is a rubber band attached between your third eye, just behind your third eye, that reaches all the way down to your Adam's apple. And as we are remembering that there is a candle in front of your lips that we're trying to not put out always, 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 and the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front tooth. The back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. And as we are reconstructing our body and holding our controller properly today, we are also remembering to perceive that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye, about like an inch behind what you would see to be your third eye in like media or in drawings. A rubber band just behind your third eye, attaching behind your third eye, attaching down to where your Adam's apple would be. And how does that feel for you? We'll be right back after this short break to bring our awareness to this rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. I'll be right back. My name is Herbie. Good morning, everyone. And this has been Palgoan. This will be Palgoan. All is true. Are we remembering to feel the front of our shins today because we move in the way we think we are constructed. So are we thinking about how our shins are constructed to hold our weight, the front of the shins, and allow us to feel so weightless and good from the inside out? Good morning, everybody. It is a Mover Monday. Welcome back to a Mover Monday on Pow Go On, where we will be discussing on Mover Monday you. A part of you that will feel so good from the inside out. A part of our bodies that we might reacquaint ourselves to feel so good from the inside out just by moving our self-awareness around. Simply stretching our self-awareness around like a muscle and seeing how it feels for us. Might tickle our body in different ways from the inside out using our self-awareness and see what feelings bubble up to the surface from that. Are we able to become more aware of muscles that might make us feel great again? How do we become aware of those muscles again? Possibly by becoming aware of where those muscles are. Or at least what our attention needs to be on to awaken those muscles. Contract those muscles. How might we contract those muscles? Today on Mover Monday on a November 1, 2021, can you believe that it's already November 1st, 2021? We're already here at the end of 2021. Feels like just the end of 2020 already. 2020 didn't happen, it seems. At least in terms of how fast everything is going. It is November 1st, 2021 on Mover Monday. Here on Pow Go On, we will be discussing the rubber band behind your third eye and your Adam's apple. How might it feel for you should you draw attention to the idea of a rubber band being behind the third eye attaching to the Adam's apple? If we are all doing so, how might it feel to perceive that there is a rubber band between the third eye, right behind the third eye, that attaches to the Adam's apple? As we are remembering that the back 1/3 of the tongue is vertical, we repeat that there is a rubber band behind the third eye that attaches to the Adam's apple. And how does that feel for you? Does it make your body want to do anything? Does it feel that your body is restricting itself permission from feeling this fully? Does it feel like it's hard to breathe that way? If it feels hard to breathe, how might it feel once we bring attention to how our tongue is formed again? Remembering that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back, the bottom front teeth, and that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And how does that feel for you? Do not just take my word for it. Please allow all of these words to go in one ear and out the other. And how does that feel for you from the inside out? Why might it be important to remember that there is a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple, attaching behind the third eye, from the third eye to the Adam's apple? Why might it be important to address that concept rather than simply saying, press your skull onto your spine? Well, what the heck are those, right? We don't really have any concept of what those operate like aside from our own feeling from the inside. How could we verify that we are doing truly what we are asking ourselves to do? Press your skull down onto your spine in order to get a better breath. Guys, what does that mean? Doesn't everybody have a different idea of where their spine is on the inside? Of where their skull rests? Of what muscles are available there? What directions their muscles are going in? What comfortability level their bones feel like when they do shift into this position? That they think that they're pressing their head down more onto their spine to feel more balanced, like, or to relieve stress. Why might it be important to perceive a rubber band behind the third eye that attaches right behind the third eye to your Adam's apple, as opposed to simply saying, press your head onto your spine? Well, don't we have more concepts? Don't we have more familiarity with the way a rubber band operates than a spine or a skull? We might have a skull, we might have a spine, but are we not more intuitively familiar with the way a rubber band operates? And so a metaphor like this may be more useful as we are pretending that there is a candle also in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out, and a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. Again, a candle being in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out, it's just flickering there. And a rubber band existing just behind the third eye, attaching down to the Adam's apple. Whether you are hanging out at the bar, whether you are typing away at your computer screen, or whether you are sitting down, laying back and reading a book, whether you are smiling underneath the sun or you are lazing underneath an overcast day or it is nighttime, how does it feel to perceive a rubber band right behind your third eye attaching all the way down to your Adam's apple? As we do not put this candle in front of our lips out. How might this feel to perceive the rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple? We might notice how forward of the body that feels. How does it affect your periphery? How does it affect your vision? How does it affect your ability to focus? Aren't we more familiar with the way a rubber band operates? And so might this metaphor be more useful within our body, as we have something to compare it to, as now there's not just a command to simply press down a skull onto a spine, but rather an entire 3D awareness and a 3D intention which invites questioning of a concept of a rubber band. Am I perceiving a rubber band? How thick is this rubber band? Does it feel like it's loose? Does it feel like it's extra tight or firm? And might our bodies do something unusual when there is a resistance coming from the inside out in which we were previously unaware of? I say again, might our bodies do something unusual when we feel a unfamiliar resistance from the inside out, which now we are aware of? As there would be a counter force behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. If there was a rubber band there, now your body almost wants to pull away from itself using muscles in directions that we wouldn't normally commonly associate with our body. If there is a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple, as those forces push together, does our body also not create an opposite force on each end pulling away? Doesn't that open up the body a little bit more in the right channel? If we are pretending that there is not just a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out, but a rubber band just behind our third eye that stretches all the way down and attaches to the Adam's apple. Might we get the opposite pressure we need in order to open up our facial area and our entire lung area and behind our backs to fill in our lungs to feel oh so good from the inside out? We might have heard little tricks like this. Oh yeah, I've heard this in school, Herbie. I've heard this in yoga. I've heard this to do specific breathing exercises. Here on Padawan, we're reminding you, do you not die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a what? A breath. Are we not always breathing? I guess this is only important should you be expected to breathe. Should you be expected to breathe, you should be feeling a rubber band behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple. If we are creating the necessary pressure, opposite pressure from behind your mask, from behind your face, to open up your breathing pipe, which exists in front of your swallowing pipe, of course, as much as possible. And to keep the breathing pipe open during all sorts of hardships and sufferings in life, which may cause the inner swallowing muscles to be so collapsed, or the breathing muscles to be so conflicted, which leads to all sorts of breathing problems. How do we fix these breathing problems? Take it from someone with sleep apnea, that we might remember that there's a rubber band behind the third eye going down to the Adam's apple. Perceiving truths that we would not be able to see simply by looking at ourselves in the mirror. Is there any wonder why we did not become aware of these muscles earlier, which exist in front of the swallowing, or in front of the breathing pipe and swallowing pipe, but in front of the breathing pipe, as that exists in front of the swallowing pipe, in order to open up the flaps, open up the canals for this breathing pipe, in order for us to feel so good even when we are faced with disappointment, shame, rejection, heartbreak, longing, disappointment in ourselves, etc. In order to go through all of life's sufferings and continue moving forward as someone who could not breathe reliably in their sleep every 5 minutes. We might open that channel up to feel so good even during the worst moments of, or what we see as the worst moments of our human condition. We might be able to breathe and feel so good during those moments by remembering that there is a rubber band behind the third eye that attaches all the way down to your Adam's apple. We might notice how far forward that feels if we are remembering that there is a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. And we might notice how open we are able to keep our experience and our breathing as we remember that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. The back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical, up and down, up and down. And how does that feel for you? One more time, we are remembering that there is a rubber band behind your third eye, all the way down, stretching all the way down to your Adam's apple. Just gently constricting there, and your body might counteract it. It might feel the need to counteract it in order to balance. And we might notice what different parts of the lungs get filled when we become aware of this rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. And as we remember that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. We might leave the swallowing muscles alone as we one more time, last time before our break, bring attention to the rubber bands behind the third eyes. Behind all of our third eyes, there's a rubber band that attaches from just behind our third eye down to the Adam's apple. The third eye being your middle of your forehead, just above your nose. We might perceive that there is a rubber band just behind that area. In the center of your forehead, right above your nose. You might imagine there's a rubber band right behind it, going down to the Adam's apple. And it's okay to not hold all of these awarenesses at once, as we are simply moving them around, touching them and touring them. Should we find any that are specifically resonant with you, we may explore them in the future more deeply. We'll be right back after this short break. My name is Herbie, and this has been Palgawan. We'll be right back for section 2, right after this short break. But only if you remember that there is a rubber band behind your third eye, going down to your Adam's apple.
Depression is a pathological reaction to loss of something one has loved. It might be through death, or it might be through loss of money, of youth, health, or vigor. Anything that is meaningful to the individual. You kept it.
It's what? flower.
No, I'm a pack rat. I never throw anything out.
Yeah, all this clutter, it's overwhelming.
It's in my apartment.
Whoa. Haven't even had our first date yet. And, you're already inviting me in.
Thought you were a nice girl.
Oh, we all know nice girls finish last.
So where do you finish?
Depends on where I start. Deep breath.
Are you ready to achieve muscular freedom through balance? Are you remembering that your feet are not L's, but arches? Are you remembering that your arms do not rest on your ribs? And that we are indeed movers. On another Mover Monday, welcome back. My name is Herbie. Good morning, everybody. This is Palgawan, and it is 6:02 a.m. on this Mover Monday of ours. We are indeed movers, as we are reintroducing ourselves to concepts about ourselves that might make us feel so good from the inside out as we move. What do you mean we move? We are always moving. As in whether you are breathing or whether you are eating, sleeping, walking around, running, jumping, fixing a car, no matter what you are doing. If you are sleeping even, you are still moving. We are movers. The way we operate, the way we experience the world is through motion, even through our breath. We are movers. Our bodies must move in relationship with itself constantly in order to even breathe. And we are naturally mechanically disposed to breathe and move. Today on Mover Monday, it is November 1st, 2021. It is 6:03 a.m. Welcome to the second half of this show today. It is Palgo on. We are talking about Mover Monday. We are talking about the rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple. And how does that feel for you? Are we waking up? Are we getting ready for the week ahead of us? Are we getting ready to spend time improving ourselves? Are we ready to spend time learning and knowing ourselves, to level up ourselves as we will apply ourselves to everything else? Are we not? Are we ready to upgrade our relationship with ourselves in order to improve our relationship with everything else? Because what is a relationship with us? How can we describe that, even in our own lives, when it is self-described, without having a relationship with us, ourselves? And how do we improve this relationship with ourselves? Here on Palgoan, on Mover Monday, we focus heavily on the physicality of ourselves, knowing more about ourselves. As in, do you remember that there is a rubber band, or it should feel as though there is a rubber band just behind the third eye in the Adam's apple? Or how does that feel for you? As your rubber band attaches from just behind your third eye, going down to your Adam's apple. Ooh. Oof. Oof. How might your body react to perceiving that there is a rubber band just there on the third eye, attaching all the way down to the Adam's apple? How might your body want to resist this feeling? And what might your body do in order to balance itself while also resisting this feeling, acknowledging this feeling? If we are remembering that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out, and that the tip of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, how might that feel for you? As we reorient ourselves and with this rubber band, no matter where we are, what the heck is that rubber band? What's that rubber band? If we are getting a glass of water, if we are walking around, there might feel there is a rubber band just behind the third eye and the Adam's apple, and how might that feel for our bodies? Is it important that this specific part of the body map is focused on entirely? Or is our whole body an entire conglomeration of multiple instructions which work with one another but are not more or less significant but are all one importance? Just the same way you have one spine but a distinct front portion of it and a distinct back portion of it, which contain very different roles, yet one spine. As the front of the spine is the weight-bearing portion of the spine, which is the front. Say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Again, the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. One more time, say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Good. And so you have a back portion of the spine, which is more related to holding all of those nerves or shielding those nerves, but is not meant to deliver weight through of your body. And if you did, you will begin to experience long-term and short-term and long-term pain, damage, as we are trying to use a part of the spine which is not meant to be used for. You ever try to pick up something with a fork with the wrong end of the fork? Sometimes not going so well when we go against what they are designed to do. And just like the spine has two distinct portions, the front half and the back half of the spine, which have very different roles, there's still one spine. Ultimately, one spine, one goal, to be a spine. Now, with this self-awareness, we might look at our own rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple and see heavy significance in how centered it is, how forward of the body it feels. We might notice that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out, and it just flickers there. We might remember to leave our swallowing muscles alone during all of our conscious waking hours. We might remember all of them, and they might not all feel equally significant. However, the significance of touring them, going from one to the other, is such that we might tickle them. And if we find that there is one especially resonant, well, how many more especially resonant ones can there be? How many misconceptions in our body have we just learned to live with, which potentially stop us from committing to acts of bravery that we normally would have? How many patterns do we get locked into that are muscular patterns, like muscular spasms, muscular conflicts due to us having a few of these misconceptions not quite down? How many times have we had a pattern of breathing strangely in which would cause us to say the wrong thing in situations that are always similar, and how much of that is a result to not having the proper channels of a rubber band behind the third eye and the Adam's apple? Or a candle in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out, in order to get out of our own body's way so we could breathe better, not be stuck in similar patterns. As we notice that patterns feel very physical, do they not? We kind of inherently know very physically when we are repeating patterns in actions or in behaviors or in thoughts. We get this oh no feeling, this relationship with oh no, here it comes again. Oh no, something bad's about to happen again. We have this intuition of our own body. How much of that is a pattern of simply a muscle pain when a muscle is supposed to go around a bone instead of going around the bone, that muscle is trying to cut right through because we had the wrong channels into our awareness. How do we fix those channels into our awareness? By some chakras? Not possibly just by putting some awareness onto specific muscles in our body that we are not commonly associated with relaxing or commonly associated with breathing. We might perceive that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. We might remember that we don't think about inhaling or exhaling necessarily in the ways that we used to. We might remember that in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. We might remember that there's a candle in front of everyone's lips that they're trying to not put out. And they're not exhaling and they're not inhaling necessarily, but we might notice that the muscles that get engaged when we put this into our awareness might be slightly new, might be slightly unfamiliar, might be slightly different. Or yet, if we were remembering that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye, down to the Adam's apple, no matter what you were doing. We might get out of our own body's way in order to feel the moment, in order to completely observe what the body wants to do or what we want to do. We might get out of our own way in order to finally form thoughts about how we feel. And we might get out of our own way by remembering that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye going down to the Adam's apple. We might feel fearless in life by remembering that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. And that there's a rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple. We might feel more free to engage with the moment. We might feel more free to move on. We might feel more free to love deeper. We might feel more free to reveal more of ourselves. Should we feel indomitable from the inside out? Should we feel like we can handle every internal suffering that comes our way? Whether that be shame, embarrassment, fear. We might be more willing to be more of ourselves even despite all that pain. Should we know we can deal with the pain? And we might be more able to deal with the pain if we remember that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye attaching down to the Adam's apple. We might get out of our own way and allow ourselves to feel pain in order to move on properly, or in order for us to feel motivation, in order for us to get moving on properly, to see the motivation in which people are saying. We might get out of our own way to actually see the affection that people are giving us by literally getting out of our own way, by remembering that the tip of the tongue wants to be out of the way, by anchoring itself to the back of the bottom front teeth to get out of our way of our breathing pipe. We might remember that there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. And of course, to unclog the breathing pipe at all times, we might remember that there's a rubber band just behind the third eye and the Adam's apple. And to get out of our own way, we will be right back here on Palgawan after this very short break, but only if you remember there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. We'll be right back on Palgawan.
this moment. It just doesn't sit right. Tell me I'm one in a million east side. Can I make love show emotion? Can I show up when I'm hurting? Something doesn't sit right. Tell me I'm living in the biggest rich lie. I don't really say a thing, trying to prove the little things, but I know how it grows. 존나 억울해, I don't show. Bring your name up, I don't speak down.
Oh, we feeling the front of our shins.
I don't say shit like you make shit.
Oh, remembering that we are achieving muscular freedom through balance. Remember to feel so balanced in those knees. Hope we are bringing awareness to the front of our shins today. And remembering that we do not sit on our legs, but actually sit on our rainbow arches, which is given the weight of our body delivered through the front of our spine, not the back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Good morning. How are you? We're reaching the last portion of this show on this Mover Monday. It is 6:17 a.m. Thank you guys so much for coming through. Thank you guys so much for viewing. Thank you guys so much for all your participation. I hope that you've been feeling so well out there. I hope you have been able to hold your controller with me in this reality of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. I hope that we're able to feel so good from the inside out by remembering there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. And lastly, are we remembering on this Mover Monday that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple, and how might that feel for you today? I say again, there is a rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches all the way down to the Adam's apple. And how does that feel for you? Is there possibly some amount of effort in your life that you've always felt like was missing? Have you ever felt only somewhat successful? Have you ever felt like your potential was only being somewhat met? While there may be a multitude of reasons for why might this be happening, as we all have our own unique situation, what we can be certain of is that the amount of energy that we want to put into our lives would be the most if we were able to gather as much effort as we could. Has it ever felt like the amount of effort that we wanted to put into movies, into ourselves, into relationships, into food, to things that we enjoy, have we ever felt like the energy that we used to put into things that we love has drained? Is it just because we need a job? Is it just because we need specific people in our lives? Or perhaps is there another way to get out of our own way and allow that energy to flow? Energy like some chakra? Or literally energy of your ability to output body energy towards things that you know you want to do, despite embarrassment, despite shame, despite rage, despite whatever it might be that's going on in your life. We might get out of our own way to apply more energy into what we want, into ourselves, into making ourselves happy when it seems like someone or something in our own lives or our decisions are making ourselves unhappy. It might seem as though we might not have enough energy to output what we know what we need to do, even if it's a social consequence, right? And how might we get out of our own way? By holding our controller properly today, and specifically on this Mover Monday, we introduce and throw your way this rubber band behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple. And in your moments of stress, in your moments of anxiety, in your moments of loneliness, how does it feel? To perceive that there's a rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches all the way down to the Adam's apple. And as we are leaving our swallowing muscles alone, we might get out of our own way when we are feeling the hardships of having to say something we don't want to say, or going to places that we don't want to go, committing to tasks we don't feel like committing to, apologizing when we do not feel like apologizing, but knowing that we should if we were talking to someone else or in a third person. How do we get and surmount that much energy for ourselves? How do we get confidence in ourselves when all we need is a little bit of self-confidence, right? They say once you can make God bleed, people stop believing in them. But isn't the reverse true as well? If we can find one hint for reason for hope that we could reliably feel better consistently for ourselves, could we not give confidence in ourselves? If we found a way to reliably, just once, make ourselves bleed and actually see that we can have confidence in ourselves, where would that end? If we found that there is a way to generate confidence within ourselves, just once, with one of these body magic tricks, how many more could there be? How much confidence can we instill in ourselves from within ourselves, by ourselves? And would that not be a godly thing, what they would be considered a godly thing, to be able to overcome something from just within yourself? From within ourselves, as we are all the same, pretending there's a candle in front of our lips that we are trying to not put out. Remembering that the tip of our tongues want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. Remembering that the back 1/3 of our tongues are vertical up and down, as we are not thinking about inhaling, but just putting our awareness onto these specific body integrated instructions and structures. Might we get out of our own way to output more energy into having actual confidence for ourselves? Might we get out of our own way and actually instill ourselves with some true confidence today by knowing more about ourselves and the parts about ourselves that can actually help us feel good throughout all of our hardships? Can we give ourselves confidence that we will be there for ourselves? Can we achieve more confidence and instill more confidence in ourselves by being there for ourselves? How do we be there for ourselves? Can we remember that there's a rubber band behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple? And as we leave our swallowing muscles alone and revisit it one more time to instill confidence in our relationship with it, can we remember that there is a rubber band just behind the third eye that attaches down to the Adam's apple? And if one of these relationships does it for you, or if any of these relationships resonate stronger than any of the other ones, can we not learn to instill more confidence in ourselves by exploring whichever one does resonate with ourselves more, and why? Might we instill more confidence in ourselves to make sure they do not take us alive in this world that is crumbling? By knowing more of ourselves, knowing where we went wrong, when the tips of our tongues did not want to be anchored to the back, the bottom front teeth, but they do. And might we instill more confidence in ourselves to never have fear? Might we instill more confidence in ourselves to be fearless? By growing this relationship with ourselves, by remembering there's a rubber band just behind your third eye that attaches down to your Adam's apple, and observing your sense of self and see how that works for you, see how that feels for you. Observing your sense of self as in your body and how it feels in relationship to itself. Thank you guys for coming through. This has been another Mover Monday. It is 6:25 a.m. How many times did we feel the rubber band just behind the third eye down to the Adam's apple again? I hope you're feeling well out there. I hope you get some water today. I hope you get to walk around. I hope you get to stretch your body and feel your self-awareness. I hope that you pretend there's a candle in front of everyone's lips today that they're trying to not put out. I hope you're remembering that the tip of your tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And I hope you remember that the back 1/3 of your tongue is vertical, up and down, skull emoji. Felipe. Because we do die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. Instill some confidence in yourself, guys. I might be projecting. I might be talking to myself. I always am, right? We all always are. We all always are. We'll see you guys next time for a True Love Tuesday tomorrow on November 2nd, 2021, where we talk about the relationship between the two sexes. True Love Tuesday tomorrow, because we're always life-loving and never death-fearing. Feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Always life-loving, never death-fearing on your first podcast in 3D. This has been Herbie. Good morning, everyone. We'll see you next time on Padawan.